Welcome to Digital Marketing RoWhy, the podcast that connects marketing to your business's revenue and covers everything you need to know to stay up to date in this crazy digital marketing world.
Welcome to Digital Marketing RoWhy. I'm your host, Shannon and Krystal is back. Hi, Krystal.
Hi, Shannon. Welcome back. It's great to be here.
It is. We're going into part 2 of the budget series. You know, our annual. It's hard to believe is this year 3 for budget.
Yeah, I think this is our
budget series.
So yeah, it's great. We do it every October, which makes sense because we're thinking about budget. It's a stressful time of year for a lot of business owners, but I think it's also can be really fun. And this is where that fourth solution that we do, the strategy, really comes in as we're thinking about not just what's happening in fourth quarter, but taking that momentum and really building out a great strategy for 2026. And I loved our conversation last time where we talked about how to prepare.
A lot more upper funnel, like just more basic general questions like Q4 and what mistakes people make. So like we did a lot of good upper funnel, did we?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to that episode, go back to it. But I'm really excited for this part of the conversation because this is where we get deep into the nitty gritty of the trends and all of the buzzwords that everybody's talking about for 2026, which I think is really fun. Do you want to get started?
Yeah, we are going to talk about more of the digital trends now as it relates to budget. Usually in December, we're going to sit down and see when it comes to December, and this might be a January episode, like what's changed even in the last couple of months, because things change so rapidly, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It seems every month or every other month. That's what that flexibility that you talked about in your budget that you mentioned last episode is so important. Let's start with what is probably the biggest game changer for 2026 that I think we'll still be talking about 2, 3, 4, 6 months from now. And that's the dramatic shift in search behavior. Can you break down what's happening with organic search and why this should fundamentally change your SEM budget allocation?
Absolutely. So as everybody knows, we're all going to the internet and we're going to Google, we're going to Bing, we're going to our chats, and we're typing in, how do I find, what did I search today? Oh, I wanted to talk about cortisol because that's a big trend on TikTok right now. I was like, tell me exactly how do I reduce cortisol and inflammation, right? If I would have typed that 2 years ago, it's not an AI generated response. I might get a couple blogs on it. I might get some paid ads. I'm going to get some good organic search on it. Fast forward to 2025. And by the way, Google's been doing this for a long time. Their knowledge graph is their AI tool. Now they just changed how it says and says AI generated, right? So that's one way consumers search. And then they're getting information with links to it. So that's a huge part of organic search going down, mainly organic, more so than paid, because let's be clear, Google makes their money on the paid ads that come up. So they're going to be very careful, but organic traffic in some situations has dropped almost 50%. In some cases, I see it depends on what the business is. If you're a business that sells something that is very easily searched by question and answers, you're going to see a drop. Not only are consumers on Google and Bing less, now everybody's adding ChatGPT or Claude to their app on their phone, and that's how they're searching versus going to Google. I know I don't search on Google the same way that I used to. Do you?
Oh, 100%. No, definitely not. I used to just search keywords, best whatever near me. Now it's like, how can I reduce my cortisol? It's questions that are specifically solving problems that I'm having.
And this number might seem low, but right now, the latest stats I pulled, AI overviews are triggering 13 to 15% of all searches, which pushes the organic results further down. And think about what happens when the person that is not an early adapter and they're more the person that's going to finally get around. It's like the person that just now started streaming, for the first time ever, wherever, you know what I mean? That's the same person. Yeah. Eventually my mom's going to be using an AI chat box more than she'll ever use Google. So it's going to grow and we're going to see that number continue. And we have to figure out now how to be proactive and not reactive to that. Right. So that's what's happening. And this is going to shift. For us specifically, it really affects us majorly with our clients that do search engine marketing. Normally by the end of the year in budget season, what we're reviewing is our cost per click going up. We're doing a deep analysis. If that cost per click is up, and searches are up, that means it's more competitive. If searches are down, remember, I don't control the searches in SEM. That's how consumers are searching and how it's being delivered based on my budget. But if there's less searches in Google, that doesn't mean the competition isn't there. It could very well mean that because we're losing some of that percentage over to the AI traffic, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. The opportunity here is there's less competition for paid placements as organic results get buried. Google is going to give more of a preference to the paid ads because they are not willing to lose their money, because now they have their version of organic now is their AI generated organic as well as their own organic results. So part of that is SEO is going to become less and less valuable to somebody that puts all their eggs into their SEO basket.
Yeah, SEO it's not even, SEO is not even important anymore. Now there's all these different buzzwords for it. There's GEO and AIO and AEO. And I think we're still settling on what the final buzzword that we call it to replace SEO. But ultimately it's optimizing your content, whether that's the information on your web pages or on like your homepage and your information pages about your products or services, or it's blogs on your website, needs to be optimized for artificial intelligence that's crawling your website, not just the SEO spiders from Google and Bing.
Yeah, that's true. Think about it this way, and we'll talk about blogs here in a minute, but before we leave SEM, I want to point out, like, for businesses like a car dealer, SEM is still their number one lead generation, whether they admit it or not. They might be like, oh yeah, Auto Trader is. No, it's not anymore. SEM is, but it's starting to evolve. And that's where Google, has invested more in vehicle listings. So we have versions of Google VLAs, as well as Meta has thrown their hat into the ring with that. So these are those images you see. Now you can combine an image with an SEM. And that is something that we would tell car dealers to do as you look to how to keep fine tuning that you are not seeing search traffic decline, is you want to start to do different layers, and you don't pick one over the other. It's a combo strategy, right?
Absolutely. Well, and the VLAs are so impactful because it's your actual inventory.
Right.
And so it's powerful for consumers, but it's powerful for businesses too, because then they know exactly where to get that vehicle that they're searching for. So let's talk about the content. We just talked about AI optimized content. It's critical for visibility because that's where people are searching. How should businesses budget for content creation and blog strategies in 2026?
So great question. And I'm going to tag you in on some of this, but you and I had a conversation a while back. We've always sold blogs. We have a crew of amazing writers that are social management content creators. The content creators that aren't living on Instagram. These are true writers. Everybody on your team is a journalist degree. They're writing degrees, right? You guys understand content at its best. But another layer of that is what we talked a little bit about in part one, which is something that we are going to heavily look at and talk to our clients about, especially with the right industry, what we are calling our AI answer block. So really looking at the content that you have on your website, how much of that content is frequently asked questions, like being able to get in the mind of the consumer of you sell a certain product. What questions are they going to ask? Do they want to know before they purchase that product? Not only do you want them searching so then we can retarget them with digital marketing, but you want to be the expert and the credible person that shows up first in an AI search that Google decides to grab and deliver. Right?
Yes. And especially thinking about people, we talked earlier about people are asking questions in Google, or they're asking ChatGPT or Claude questions when they're searching for something. You want your website, your blog to be the one that, whether it's Google's AI or ChatGPT, they're pulling that answer from and then having that click-through link to you.
Well, I look at it this way. Think of somebody like a plumber. We might focus on a do-it-yourself blog on plumbing. But now take that same theoretic blog that has great content in it and has great references and things that you can have links back to your website or links on your website. And now turn that same blog into how can you relate that to the person that has a clog, doesn't know what to do, but ultimately you want them to pick up the phone and call you. And so now you can take that same content but put it in the consumer direction. The content now needs to be in how AI would answer that.
Being able to answer what are the questions and giving AI that language to use.
But and when I think about local businesses, this is a huge advantage when it comes to a search in a local market for you to stand out ahead of your competitors or national brands. If you're a paint store and somebody's looking for specific paints and then you don't want them to go to Walmart and you're a local paint store, your AI might show up first if they're like, wow, I didn't even know he was there, but he just answered my paint question and they're right down the road, you know?
Absolutely. Well, especially as AI is getting better at getting more local information and getting more customized responses for people based on where they are too. Like we will start to see that happen.
I found this stat. It was actually under SEMrush, an article I read, and it said clients investing in AI optimized content see 60% more qualified leads within 6 months. Yep. So we're selling blogs at a very affordable price, even one blog a month, and you could bring in more leads in 6 months from that one blog to enhance what you're doing. It's not going to replace. You can't stop doing all your marketing, but it's a very affordable way to not miss out on a new way that consumers are searching.
Absolutely.
We've been living in the largest search engine for years, which is Google. We also cover Bing, but let's not kid ourselves. There is 2 more big dogs coming down the road that are going to eventually really give Google a run for that money. And that is going to be ChatGPT and something like Claude that we use that are probably the number 1 and number 2. That is a search engine in itself, even though it's an AI. You know, like they are also giving you, and you can ask the way that they're set up now, the good ones, you ask for the link.
In the last 3 months, it used to be literally 3 to 6 months ago that the information within Claude or ChatGPT was just what had been fed into it up until like April 2022, right? Yes. And even said that this is based on this information. Well, now both of those tools and other large language model tools are actively searching the internet and doing live web searches, and you can direct them to do live web searches. So they're pulling in information faster than ever before. And what we're seeing is a lot of smaller businesses that have more AI optimized content, they are showing up before even the national because the content is written in a way that's conversational and makes sense for the AI.
I love it.
Let's talk about another big trend we'll see more of in 2026, which is connected TV advertising. It is projected to equal 70% of traditional TV spending by 2026. How should this shift influence budget allocation for businesses who are still investing in traditional media, but maybe they want to either increase or get started on CTV?
Okay. On today's sales meeting, I had Krystal's team, the campaign team, as well as my salespeople, and we did CTV trivia. It was fun. Yeah. What was the big stat that I asked that came out in May from Nielsen that was the one I really wanted everybody to remember? What happened with that stat? What's the big thing I brought up?
It was the tipping point when finally more people are streaming video content through streaming services than are watching cable or broadcast TV combined.
And that was May. So the fact that you read the stat, what people need to remember is by next year, CTV will equal more than 70% of traditional TV total spending. And that's that's not just questions. That's going to happen. There's more and more capabilities to do streaming video than ever before. 99% of marketers using video will continue in 2026 because they are seeing their clear ROI in streaming. And this is why it's crazy to me. You and I just dealt with this on a report. What are we getting less of when we do pure streaming? What are we getting less of in the reports?
You're getting less clicks,
less engagement. But what we're getting more of is we're capturing those people as they're sitting in their living room, right? We're reaching the consumer journey at a very critical point. And all of a sudden they're starting to be like, hey, I'm in the market for that. Now I'm getting that on my large screen. We're used to it on our phones, right? And we've finally made the shift that there's less and less national ads and more local businesses that's not only just running an ad, but it actually knows what I'm looking for right now because the strategy and the targeting are better than they've ever been.
Well, and the platforms are also, there are more ad space on the platforms. My husband and I just talked about this a week ago, that we are noticing more ads popping up on our streaming services, even the free ones, the ones that we used to pay a premium to not get ads on. We changed our platform or our program to now get ads, and they're really well targeted. We are getting targeted with ads that are local businesses. He's like, I didn't know that they could do these kind of ads. I was like, that's what I do.
That's what I do.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. So nice to be able to see that. That is the actual TV experience now, because more and more people are cutting the cord. You have more people who have never had a cable subscription.
And that number is going to continue to go down. I mean, our biggest competitor is linear TV or cable. So yes. It's crazy to me when we know less than 25% of people have that cable box and less than 22% have linear. That combined doesn't make up what's streaming. If you want to do that, I am not telling people not to do cable. I think cable is a smarter bet than just choosing one station. However, it should only reflect that percentage of your budget as well. So if you've got a 100% of budget that should go towards to video commercials, where you want to reach your audiences, you should assign probably a 20 to 25% on each of those, and the rest should go to CTV. That's streaming. And that way you're reaching them at all levels. But again, if you have to cut somewhere, because let's be clear, it's not cheap to do this. Right. But you want to look at why you would continue to spend with somebody that you cannot target when over in this corner, chances are it's cheaper, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I also want to make sure that people understand what they're buying, because I think the biggest misconception is there's not a lot of education happening. We are not a TV station, but we have access to over 93% of all streaming inventory. Like I can get to YouTube TV. It's an elite program. You're going to have to spend about $12,000 to $15,000 a month, but I can get to it through the walled garden, and I can be very specific. But 93% is a lot of what I can reach. When you go work with a local television station or a cable, their number one goal is to have you use their products themselves. That means those 25% of the cable buyers, the box sitting there still, they want you to buy that first and foremost. If you want to buy streaming from them, it's going to first and foremost go to their operated inventory. So all these big media companies have their own streaming platform. I have access to everything that they have, but that's where they make their highest profitability. So would you rather have somebody strategizing your plan on what's best for you, or what's best for them? I mean, exactly. That's as simple as I can make it.
Yep.
And I encourage anybody listening to this that have never done a video strategy, that this is time to dip your toe in. We can help you with video. We can help you get your message out there and have more of a one-on-one conversation than we've ever been able to have with the old school TV or cable.
Yep. 100%. It is powerful. Let's talk about display advertising. I know that people like to think that this is old school, but really it's more important than ever for driving the consumer journey. How should businesses think about allocating their display budget given the new consumer behavior data?
I said it in the last podcast, but something that I want people to stop thinking about is everything we do as channels. Like, look, we sell branding, and what falls under branding is anything that's display strategy, any display campaign, any streaming video campaign, anything that brands you to make you top of mind. But ultimately what we want to do is you tell us your message, you tell us the audience, and then we follow them along the consumer journey. So you have one message with multiple channels that you are layering that in. And display is probably the missing channel. Like somebody will choose, well, instead of display, I'm going to move this over to CTV because that's the hot ticket item. The truth is it's not, it's this and this, right? Do not give up one thing to do the other. The pricing is so different. So consumers are still more likely to search for your brand after seeing a display ad. 155% more according to WordStream. There's still power because I can do more targeting with display than any other solution I have. CTV has good targeting layers if you do the premium, but display still gives me better targeting. And the way that we're doing that, we live in a cookieless world now, even though Google is yet to adapt. I understand how consumers search, and I know where they're at. It's very scary. I know people don't understand it, but I can do a lot of cross-device matching. I can understand down to a very particular element. You know, we talk about the Skittle analogy a lot at FDS, which is when you're a travel agent and you want to target consumers who want to go on a Disney cruise, you don't want to target somebody that is never going to go on a Disney cruise and they're going to Aspen to ski, right? I only want to target the people that have young children that are typing in the word Disney and I want to put them on a cruise, right?
Yeah.
So there's all different levels of targeting, but the way that the really good stuff has more targeting capabilities than pretty much anything you do. We talked about the consumer journey impact, right? This is just one more layer of that. The retargeting is amazing. The fact that I know what you're searching for, how you typed it in, and I can deliver that ad within 45 minutes of a search. I mean, that kind of thing, it's very powerful. It's very powerful. And then last but not least, it's the measurement. We talked about it in the last podcast that everything we do is we measure the data all year long to get a really good blueprint to strategize for the new year, right? And so everything that we're going to do in 2026, we're going to have measurement on it. And we're going to be able to pivot when we need to pivot. We're going to be able to add a layer of addressable geofencing if you're doing a strong display campaign or a CTV campaign that I can layer in AGF. Right. So yeah, those are solutions that I think are core. We talked about that at the end of part 1, which is you don't have to try a little bit of everything. You just want to stick to the main courses, right? And the main courses here are really focus on your search because of what's going on with AI. SEM is so valuable this year. CTV and display. I could go on and we could have another podcast just talking about the value of analyzing who's walking into your businesses. You know, we already talked about the AI answer blogs, but all of those things are going to be top of mind for 2026 as you lay out your strategy.
Yes. I think you said earlier, we will come December, and it might be something that publishes in early January, but we'll be talking a lot more about those specific solutions, opportunities, and trends. Let's bring it back to the topic of our podcast. Given all of these trends, what is the ROI potential for businesses that adapt their budgets now versus those who wait?
So I'm going to give a homework assignment of this because what I am seeing that we're really pushing our clients to do, and we're holding them accountable because I am being held accountable to track down to the wire. I have businesses that want to know exactly who that customer is that came to my website and why they didn't convert. Unfortunately, I wish it was part of my job because if it was, I'd probably make a lot of people redo their websites. But there's certain things I can track. There's privacy laws. But what I would encourage, in order for me to talk about ROI, I need to go back to the basics. I can talk all day long about how much I can analyze that, measure it. I can measure cost per click, which ultimately is a cost per action because a step happened there, an action step did. I can measure it. I can tell you what's going on. I can't necessarily tell you the conversion, right? I need your help with that. I need every business owner before you go into 2026 to sit down with a legal yellow pad and your pen. And I need you to write down all the products and services you sell and ask yourself these questions. How much is a lifetime value of that product or service I sell? What's the year 1 profit if you want to go to there? And then figure out your conversion. If I bring X amount of people in the store, what's the average sale? If I bring X amount of people to the website, what I'm doing is I'm helping our clients know what the statistics are. What's in your region? What would be an average profit margin? A mortgage is a great example. A lifetime value of a mortgage, if you signed a 30-year mortgage, is not 30 years. The average person that commits to a 30-year mortgage holds that mortgage for about 7 years average, which means they're either living there for 7 years, they're refinancing, right? They're selling. So as a business owner, you have to decide, is that mortgage, is that how I measure it? Or am I looking at, they brought X amount of people to my website, my conversion rate is 10%, and year 1 profit is $800. And I'm only going to give you credibility for that. I mean, that's pretty low, but be conservative, but at least assign a number to it so you can start to look at your marketing from a different perspective. And then I can help you. I can tell you who's coming there. And by the way, if you're using GA to track, stop. You either have to trust in the systems that your media companies or your digital agencies are investing in, and you got to ask them, is this trackable? Am I tracking it accurate? But you either have to invest in that or you have to trust your partner for that, because GA is not going to tell you that answer. That's not the way to come up with your conversion.
Yep, 100%.
I can give you a better ROI, but in order for me to do ROI, you have to understand your business better. I know what my profit margin is for every single thing we sell.
Yes.
And guess what? I make the least amount of profit with SEM. It's also one of our number 1 sellers because it's going to bring them value that's going to have higher ROI. And so it's worth it for me because I'd rather make less on it because it is their number one, sometimes lead generator, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's powerful. And that's part of the conversation too. It's not just the numbers.
Yep. Well, that's it, Krystal. We did a year number 3 of our budget conversation, and I think it just keeps getting better and better.
Every year we get even deeper. We have new insights, and I just love it. I'm very excited for these conversations we're having this year with our clients. I think 2026 is going to be a great year.
I agree. And again, thank you to our listeners for tuning in today for this very deep dive. And we know what the data is clear. The businesses that adapt their budget allocation to match these trends will continue to dominate in their markets. So start planning your digital transformation now. Reach out to us if you need to, because we're here to help, right? Absolutely. This is Shannon Allen and Krystal Vivian. We'll see you next time on Digital Marketing RoWhy.
You've been listening to Digital Marketing RoWhy from Federated Digital Solutions. Do you have an idea for a future episode or a burning digital marketing question? Text RoWhy to 45364 to get a link where you can share your idea. Subscribe to get new episodes every other Thursday, plus Tip Tuesday insights every week.
Podcasts by Federated Media.